Thank you.
Thank you. Quiet crowd.
Good morning. I'm Steve Bornstein. A good question is, why am I up here with Commissioner Goodell and Mark Locke, and I'm going to try to explain why I'm up here. I worked for Roger Goodell for over a dozen years before he was the commissioner, and then subsequently after he became commissioner, and I spent a lot of time with the NFL and contributed a bit to their media strategy and sponsorship strategy. About 5 years ago, I was on a board of a high-tech company called Second Spectrum, which was a target of Genius Sports. They wanted to acquire it, and I got to meet Mark Locke, and they eventually did acquire Genius Sports, and a lot of what we're talking about today, a lot of technology that you're going to see today, is from the Second Spectrum acquisition. So it's been pretty successfully integrated into Genius Sports, and now I work for Mark Locke. He asked me after we closed the deal if I would consult with him and his senior leadership team. So I eagerly said yes to that. And consequently, two of the senior leadership team thought it'd be a good idea if I interviewed two of my old bosses, one current and one old boss. I won't mention any names of who they are, but they run IR and communications for Genius Sports. And if this goes well, we'll see if it was a good idea or not. So with that caveat, I'm going to start the first question and go to you, Commissioner Goodell. I want you to go back 5 years. Sports legalized gambling was just coming on. You were had the ability to bid out your data rights and your technology rights. You had a lot of different companies all wanting to have the #1 entertainment product in North America on their books, and you picked Genius. So I was curious why you picked Genius Sports.
Well, I guess first, we were looking much more at how data is going to change our future and change the relationship between us and our fans. And we saw that as a connection that was incredibly valuable. So it was beyond sports betting. Obviously, that was a period of time where there was a lot of focus on that. But we really, we want partners. We want the best partners in the world. That's what we look for. We're only as good as our partners. And we need partners who are innovative, who are aligned in interests with us, have experience and wisdom in the areas that we want to partner with, and can ultimately make us more successful. So we did a pretty robust process, as you know, and it was clear that Genius was the right partner for us. I think we have tremendous respect for the management, from Mark on through to you and to so many that work with us. But you also brought a tremendous perspective for us about how to look at the future. The technology you have, which is what we ultimately were interested in, is how can your technology help us with our relationship with our fans? And I think we're just scratching the surface right now. I think we're really back on our own 10-yard line, to be honest with you. And that means we got a lot of field to play with. And I think we're growing in a great way. We're investors also, so I think that, and just extended with you recently. So I think from our standpoint, I think that speaks louder than anything I could tell you right now.
So you're happy with the relationship the first 5 years?
Yes, we are very happy.
Typically, my experience is that the NFL doesn't extend unless they are somewhat satisfied.
And we certainly don't invest if we're not satisfied.
So. Mark, let me ask you this question. It's important to the people in this room that sports integrity monitoring is a critical issue going forward. Can you talk about how Genius Sports supports that?
Sure. I mean, it's topical
at the moment. I mean, and fundamentally, everything comes down to integrity and consumer protection. Really, that's the fundamental premise that the sports are operating from when it comes to the sports betting market. And all of that really stems from regulation, a good regulatory framework. Ultimately, you cannot achieve that, and you cannot achieve this trusted and transparent ecosystem without the sports leagues, without the regulators, and without, frankly, technology companies like ourselves, all being aligned and working hand in hand. And ultimately, if you look at the sports betting market in the US, that's why it's been such a massive success. You've had the sports leagues, you've had the regulators all working together, all pulling together to create that very, very well-structured framework. And I think the interesting thing at the moment is to look at what's going on with prediction markets. That space is evolving very, very rapidly, but I think it's fair to say that regulation is not clear. So I think it makes it very difficult for the leagues to engage in that without that regulatory framework. And I think what we've learned from what's happened with DFS back in 2017, that this will eventually normalize. Regulation will come in, and ultimately that will come through partnerships with the NFL, through partnerships with the regulators to build that trusted ecosystem, and to create the guardrails which ultimately protects the integrity of the sport and to protect the consumer. And so, from my point of view, when we think about it, the opportunities that this new evolution and this increasing TAM present, Genius is very, very well placed to take advantage of it. And no matter how that regulation evolves, whether it's very rapidly or slowly or fragmented, and we talk a lot about this later. We do a bit of a teach-in session on prediction markets because we think they're fairly misunderstood. Genius is extremely well placed to win in every single outcome.
Steve, I'd just add one element to that, because integrity obviously is incredibly important to us, particularly when it comes to sports betting, because that's the backbone of our success, is making sure that whatever you see play out on the field is not being influenced by any outside influences. And we've seen that in sports, and it's a risk that's out there. So our partners help with us. So the ability for you to help us maintain that integrity and use the technology to do that is really valuable to us. On the predictive markets, I'd go the same way that you go, Mark. For us, that's not something we're about to enter into. We are going to see how things play out, both from a regulatory standpoint. There are a lot of legal challenges going on right now. We'd like to be first in the market in a lot of things, but in a lot of things we're willing to say, we're going to let things play out. We're going to decide, is this something we want to do? The risk to the brand is something that we take very seriously, and we won't risk that brand in something until we feel confident that we can do it. And if we see it play out in a way that works for us, whether that's private equity and ownership of the NFL on our teams, or whether it's technology issues in sports betting and or the predictive markets, that's how we're going to play.
That makes a lot of sense. When I was there at the NFL, we didn't always have to be first. We just had to be right when we made those kind of moves.
We don't mind being first, though, sometimes.
Fair enough. Well, let me tell you one that we were first on, and it's innovation. I mean, one of the things that I think is a hallmark of your tenure is innovation. And I don't know if you remember this, but 20 years ago today, or this season rather, we launched the Red Zone channel. You approved it, and we incubated that on DirecTV, and now I think it's an essential part of Sunday afternoon consumption of NFL programming. My question to both of you is BetVision the next Red Zone channel?
That's a good question and provocative. I mean, look, BetVision, for us it has been an enormous success. I mean, we've got such a huge amount of empirical evidence, and we'll talk about this later. We'll go through some statistics about how much the NFL fans really do love it and really do engage with it. And I think from our point of view, it sort of showcases, the things that Roger's trying to achieve, which is the gold standard in innovation. This is really the accumulation of the most modern technology, understanding the sport, understanding the game, and integrating the fan experience. And ultimately, this product, which we launched with the NFL, we were running 250, 260 games initially. We're now running 23,000 games on it through, I think, over 100 sports books globally. So we're in a very, very strong position because of the innovation that Roger and his team have driven through the NFL.
Yeah, and I'd say for us, hitting the bar of is it the same as Red Zone, I think Red Zone is one of the greatest innovations in sports from a consumer standpoint. So it's a high bar, but I do believe this has the potential to be there. And I think with the partnership we have and the technology, I think we learn a lot. I think we're able to adapt a lot, and we're able to find what the consumers ultimately want. And I think it's got that kind of potential.
It's sort of interesting how the broadcast space is changing as well.
For sure.
And what fans want, it's becoming about personalization, personalized products, making sure that fan is getting what they want, when they want, and how they want. And I think ultimately that's what drives the next generation of NFL fan. It's what drives the next generation of engagement, and ultimately technology is providing the opportunity to be able to do that.
Well, that really was my next question. I mean, we're trying to express to you here that this is not a betting company. This is a technology company. And how do you see partnering with the NFL to actually increase not just fan engagement, but the broadcast experience itself?
Yeah,
I'm happy to take.
Sure.
Listen, our relationship with our media companies, we don't even call them broadcast relationships anymore. And later today, you're going to see some ratings numbers from last week and Thanksgiving that are they're going to set records. Let's just put it that way.
Can you share any details for this group here?
They will break records.
In a positive way, I suspect.
It will actually smash records. It's and I think it's a combination of factors that come into one. We are still believers in the broadcast platforms. To be able to bring together large large number of consumers. We really work to event everything that we do, right? And Thanksgiving is obviously has a tradition for football, but I think we've been able to work to even make it a greater event and a bigger event. We're doing it with Christmas, with Netflix and Amazon this year, which we're really excited for. So. The broadcast partners, I think, use and see a lot of the technology that you all create. And that technology then gets adopted into the broadcast, and I think that changes their experience. Technology is helping us even in the measurement side of this. As you know, particularly because we are such an event, a lot of people watch either co-viewing or out of home, and I think that's one of the reasons. There is now a measurement tool to be able to try to identify that. Is one of the reasons why we think we're getting closer to finding what is the real number of folks who are actually engaging with our games through medium platforms. So I think all of it works in an ecosystem that the technology gets people more engaged. They want to watch it more. They have other reasons to watch it, whether it's sports betting, fantasy, or they just love the technology to find out, wow, how fast was that guy running? Or what elements that now are being brought in with technology you all are creating, where I can see what's the probability of which linebacker is going to blitz. And when you see that kind of technology, it's just another way for fans to engage, and it's the stickiness. So technology is fundamental to what we do, and that's why the selection of you all was a big step for us and every one of our technology partners.
Yeah, I mean, the other way that we're sort of seeing the evolution, I mean, we obviously ran the Madden Cast immersive experience over Thanksgiving, but the thing that we're very heavily focused on is driving value for the NFL sponsors. as the personalization, engines come through, as we're able to, work more closely with the advertisers, and again, to your point, we've got better metrics coming through. We can drive real value for the sponsors. We can make sure that they're being promoted and given exposure at the right time, and really generating improved ROIs for them. And that's something that we're seeing increasingly, working across our platform.
And it improves our game. I mean, there's still people who think the 1st and 10 marker, the yellow marker, is actually on the field.
It isn't?
No, I'm going to break news today. But it's just such a part of our game, and it improves the way people experience our game and understand our game. So all of that is, I think, a part of. That's how we measure it ultimately. Does it change the experience for our fans and our consumers and our partners? That's a good thing.
Well, I have to say I'm proud that ESPN, when I was there, developed the 1st and 10 line, despite what David Hill often claims out there. But that's it, more inside the beltway. Comment. The other thing I would add, and I'm supposed to be asking the questions, but I also think this technology helps you serve new platforms extremely well. I think the TikToks and the YouTubes would benefit greatly from the technology and how we provide the sport.
Well, as you know, one of the things that was so interesting for me, at least, was the latency. A low latency feed is critical for us, whether it's sports betting or whether it's any aspect. Consumers want to see it live. They want to see it live, not 60 seconds later. And the speed of everything is improved and engaged our fans in a different way. And you've changed that game for us. The technology you've provided is reduced latency for every one of our platforms. And that's a really important thing for us.
Well, let me ask you a question. Do you see the Sports Genius technology helping expand the global footprint of the NFL?
Absolutely. As many of you may know, international is really one of our highest priorities right now, to take our game to the globe. We played 7 games last year. We're likely to play 9 next year and continue on to 16. And, who knows where that goes at some point in time. But the basic medium to grow the game is not playing the games. It's a limited amount of inventory. It's really the media. It's what built us here. It's what made the NFL successful. It's a great, in early days, broadcast, satellite, now obviously streaming. It's a great media product. And so we want to use that same platform and that same game plan to bring our game overseas. And as you're working with fans who may not be as well versed in the game, which they are obviously here in the U.S., we need to engage them in different ways. We need to help them alt broadcast, which you guys help us do, whether it's the Madden alt broadcast or Prime Vision. It gives us an ability to be able to reach fans who are at different levels of understanding of the game. And then how do we bring them into that game and build the fan base that way? And so it's an important element for us in our growth international.
Will Genius IQ, Mark, help people outside the U.S. understand the game?
Yeah, I mean, the NFL have done a remarkable job of driving the international expansion. And it's some interesting statistics. If you look at Sky Bet in the UK, one of the biggest sports books over there, NFL is now the 3rd largest sport for Sky Bet. It's down from, I think, 8th in 2021. So I think that shows how successful the NFL are penetrating that international audience. And I think from a sports betting point of view, to bring it back there, the evolution of BetVision, the fact that you can, as you say, educate the fan. You've got the most engaged sports fans. Ultimately, that's what a sports bettor is the most engaged sports fan available. And using that engagement and the personalization and the BetVision product to really sort of educate and drive that has proven to be very, very successful in Europe. So we have a huge. We think we've got a huge opportunity ahead of us to really drive that with the NFL.
I agree.
Thanks. So listen, we'll wrap it up with this. As we conclude our 5th season of a relationship between Sports Genius and the NFL, What do you both see as the big opportunities in the next season or two for us to accomplish?
Do you want to go first?
Look, I
have
think
two.
I think international expansion is a very, very exciting area. Personalisation of the broadcast, making sure that we're distributing lots of different alternative broadcasts to the world, and really driving value for sponsors. We see a massive opportunity of integrating the advertising platform, the products at the NFL, and really driving that value for sponsors on a sort of US but also global basis.
I'd agree with that. I'd just add the latency issue in there. I think that opens so many doors to opportunities for us, because I don't think we can imagine today what 5 years is going to really bring. I think technology is moving so quickly, and Genius IQ and so many other things that we're all working on. That incubation period is becoming more and more condensed. And I think what's exciting to me about our future together is that we're in that space in a partnership that I think the world is something that we're going to be able to exploit in a way that I can't think we can even imagine today, but I know I'm incredibly optimistic that you guys are going to open doors for us, and hopefully we're going to open doors for you that we could only dream of today.
Thank you.
Hey, Brent.